Welcome to This Explainer. I'm so pumped you're here. Look, today we're diving into something absolutely crucial. It's a total game changer. We're talking about how embracing true intellectual humility is literally the ultimate driver for personal development. It's the spark for deep innovation. And honestly, it's the key to completely upgrading your internal operating system. We're going to unpack this powerful operational guide for anyone trying to navigate complex, ever-changing fields, whether that's wellness, science, or just your own day-to-day personal growth. So let's just jump right in with a question that, well, it might actually feel a little uncomfortable. What if your intense desire for the right answer is exactly what's holding you back? I mean, we all naturally crave certainty, right? We want the final word. Just think about how stubbornly we cling to wanting to be right in the middle of a heated dinner party debate. But here's the thing. Desperately holding on to a final answer creates this phenomenon we call premature closure. And it's dangerous. It literally stops your learning dead in its tracks. When we lock into an answer just to feel secure, we're basically rolling out the red carpet for stagnation. We just stop adapting. And this brings us to a massive crossroads we all hit when processing new information. On one side, you've got dogma. Dogma is this incredibly rigid anchor. It demands that you stop questioning. And because it totally cements your identity to a single, unchangeable answer, it absolutely stifles your growth. On the flip side, though, we have intellectual humility. Now, this is the mindset of the true innovator. It's endlessly curious. It relies on this really cool concept called productive uncertainty, which we'll get into in just a second. But make no mistake, intellectual humility is the actual engine that drives innovation forward. So to escape that trap of dogma, rigorous critical thinkers use a pretty straightforward three-step operational guide. Number 1, love the question itself. Number 2, explore the answer. And number 3, adopt when new data arrives. Let's look at that first one. Step 1, love the question itself. This is all about taking an anti-dogmatic stance. Now, taking this anti-dogmatic stance requires a massive, and I mean massive, philosophical pivot in how we actually interact with knowledge. Instead of just sitting around eagerly waiting for some authority figure to hand you an easy answer, you've got to learn to anchor yourself to the inquiry itself. I really want you to let this idea sink in. The power is in the inquiry, not the resolution. Why is that? Well, because a fundamental question, something like, what truly optimizes the human body? That is pure. It's actually the most stable point in an otherwise totally unstable universe of data. I mean, think about how nutrition advice is just constantly flipping back and forth. One decade, fats are the enemy, the next decade, carbs are the villain. The answers we find are so often temporary or biased or just incomplete. But the question itself, that remains constant. It's reliable. So loving the question means you actively resist the pull of dogma, whether that's some rigid scientific consensus or just a kind of cult-like community trend. Instead, you have to lean into the uncomfortable lack of knowledge. By just accepting the fact that, hey, you don't have it all figured out, you start to cultivate true intellectual humility. You enter the state of productive uncertainty. And honestly, that is precisely the environment where all true innovation actually happens. Moving on to step 2, explore the answer. This phase is all about the relentless pursuit of data. All right, so now that we're a bit more comfortable sitting in our uncertainty, we move into the active, unconventional research phase. Here, we don't treat any potential answer as a final truth. Not at all. It's merely a working hypothesis. To truly explore the answer, you have to go way, way beyond the mainstream consensus. A rigorous thinker gathers data from everywhere. They're looking at double-blind studies and functional medicine case reports, sure, but they also don't ignore historical remedies or expert community anecdotes or, and this is absolutely crucial, personalized N=1 experimentation. Actually testing things directly on yourself. You need this whole comprehensive view to find the absolute best current hypothesis. But wait, here's the catch. Open-mindedness doesn't mean gullibility, right? You have to constantly apply a razor-sharp critical filter. Question the methodology of those studies. Be on the lookout for conflicts of interest. Really examine the sample sizes. And yes, that absolutely includes applying sharp scrutiny to your own personal trials, too. A good answer is simply one that has survived your sharpest scrutiny right up to this present moment. Which brings us to step 3. Adopt when new data arrives. This is the principle of scientific evolution. This step is the ultimate commitment to forward-thinking adaptation. It requires you to completely reject intellectual inertia. To do this, you have to master what we call intellectual non-attachment. Basically, this means using the very best available answer for your current context, but, and this is a big but, with an explicit, planned willingness to let it go. This is so vital for personal development. A belief, a health protocol, a specific diet. Guys, these are just tools for optimization. They are not an identity for you to defend. If a new diet protocol clearly outperforms the one you've strictly followed for 3 years, you got to be able to drop the old one completely and do it without ego. So, for an optimizer, what does that new data actually look like in the real world? Well, it often looks like measurable changes in your personal biomarkers. Maybe your heart rate variability dips, or your inflammatory markers suddenly rise, or you just experience these subjective energy shifts throughout the day. The big takeaway here is that your own body's internal personalized reporting always supersedes any abstract findings you might read in an external published paper. You adopt the new approach simply because your specific data demands it. And honestly, this reveals the hidden beauty of the whole system. It's not just a straight line from ignorance to some final truth. It's the cycle of wisdom. Step 1, you question everything. Step 2, you explore the data. Step 3, you adopt the new tools. But then step 4 kicks in. The adoption of that new data raises even deeper, more nuanced questions. And bam, you return right back to step 1. Except this time, you're armed with a much higher resolution of understanding. It's literally an infinite loop of continuous growth. Ultimately, this entire explainer boils down to how you view yourself. You are a living, adaptive system. You are a dynamic processor of information, not some static repository of facts. Your ultimate goal is to continuously upgrade and optimize your internal operating system, and you do that based on the absolute latest, most rigorously tested internal and external data you can possibly find. So, I want to leave you with this final thought. We've seen exactly how intellectual humility drives us forward, and how productive uncertainty really fuels true innovation. But let's make it personal for a second. If a belief or a routine or a protocol is really just a tool for optimization, what are your outdated tools? And more importantly, which of them are you too afraid to drop today? Take a hard, honest look at your internal operating system. Embrace the uncertainty, ask the pure question, and keep that infinite loop of growth spinning. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, I highly encourage you to keep questioning absolutely everything.